Live from Austin, Texas, broadcasting worldwide, it's Alex Jones.
Thank you for joining us. It is Thursday, already the second day of September 2010. I'm Alex Jones, your host. We're going to be looking at eugenicist gunman who exposes the dark side of the environmentalist cult for what it is. It has nothing to do with the environment. In fact, the people running the main environmental groups are openly transhumanist and planet supporters who openly want to re-engineer society at every level. So that is coming up. Also, Paul Hogan vows to fight Australian tax office. This is the New World Order. He paid taxes in the U.S. and there, records show, and they just want more. And he went to his 101-year-old mother's funeral, who just died, and they're going to hold him there as a hostage till he gives them all their money. Meanwhile, if he was a Goldman Sachs swindler, he'd be released. Also, we'll get into auto sales worst since August 1983. Rodriguez plans at least 2 more race war machete films. That's set to be released tomorrow. We've also got India halts HPV vaccine trial after 6 girls die. U.S. does nothing in response to at least 67 deaths and counting. They're just setting the precedent that we die en masse and that's good and wholesome, and that's just the way it is, all part of the eugenics. So that is just some of what is coming up today. Now, I want to just go over a smattering of ideas that I've basically been brainstorming about in this segment and the next. Why we've come to this position that we're in now as a society. And the biggest point is that we have become decadent. Empires are never conquered from without. They implode and fall apart from within because the populations become decadent, they become slovenly, they become self-absorbed, they become nihilistic, and they basically stop having their impulse to be caring and compassionate. And people stop sticking together. They start thinking that you get ahead by screwing each other, and then that creates an atmosphere where everybody is basically screwing each other for a percentage, and then society implodes because confidence is lost. We've seen this the last 6-7 years in Mexico, where the corruption of the culture and of the government has become so systemic and so system-wide that it has now collapsed into a road warrior-type scenario. And we saw this in Rome, ancient Rome. We've seen this in places like North Korea. And we're now beginning to see it happen in the United States. All over the country, major cities and counties and towns are laying off many of their police officers, their fire departments, in some cases more than half the officers. And they're announcing, we are not going to respond to regular crimes, grand theft auto, home invasion, armed robbery. The officers we've got left are going to be used for fines and fees and revenue generation, basically sucking off of you. And this really shows we're going into a third world system where the taxes go up, but the benefits and the basic services go down, and the police more and more become defenders of the ultra-rich and the big corporations and the government, and go out and fully convert from aiding the public and defending the law and helping the population to being revenue generators who were there to feed off the population. So we are now going into the final phase of societal degeneration and collapse. And it's not going to take 100+ years for the West to collapse like it did Rome 2,000 years ago. We are going to see the West accelerate its collapse, and the third world nations bordering the West are already in full collapse. And this has been engineered and designed by the global social architects that want an end to the industrialized society so that they can fully bankrupt society and on its ashes build their planetary corporate dictatorship, which will reduce everyone down to the level of feudal slaves. Less than 1 out of 1,000 will be part of the superclass. You will have a large percentage of the population, a large minority, that will be law enforcement and bureaucrats and private contractors that will enforce and suppress the population. And along with that, you see torture being promoted, the end of habeas corpus, the end of due process, secret arrest. You see the whole Homeland Security apparatus of the past presidents and the current president that we were sold, that it was designed to be used against foreigners and supposed, cave-dwelling, Al-Qaeda. And now they admit, no, it's for anti-war activists. It's for conservatives. It's for libertarians. It's for anti-GMO protesters. It's for returning vets. It's for anyone on the left or the right that gets outside of the box and realizes that we have an unelected global corporate dictatorship taking over our planet. And this entire system of secret police and the whole top secret USA system and the Homeland Security spy blimps and the naked body scanners at the airports and the face scanning technology and the license plate reading technology and our cell phones being tracked in real time. This was all designed from its foundation by the Pentagon, funded by big corporations, on record to usher in a cashless society control grid so the elite could take over society and then protect their ill-gotten gains by converting the military and police into literal East German type Stasi to suppress the population. 38 years ago, a global program began to take the blood of all children at birth and put it in secret databases. That's now declassified and admitted a decade after I exposed it. They came out a few years ago and said, don't worry, we're not saving the naked body scanner images at the airport. Now they admit they lied to you. They were saving them the whole time. Now the federal courthouses, the state courthouses, they're all rolling these systems out against the population and admitting, hey, you know what? We are saving these images. Hey, you know what? We did lie to you. We are taking your baby's blood at birth. It's not for a blood test. It's for a secret global eugenics bioweapons database. We want your genetic number. We want to patent your blood and say that we own it. You are a product that we own, that we brainwash, that we condition. That's what this global psychological warfare system is pushing against the population of this planet. And who's at the top of this? The mega private banks. There's only 6 of them. And they are waging war against your local credit union. They are waging war against your local or regional bank that's actually giving you credit. They want to consolidate power. And out of their Federal Reserve Act of 1913, they have engineered crises and created thousands of trillions of dollars that they controlled that allowed them, through unfair trade advantage, to take over society. Now, in the last few years, they've passed legislation in the name of reforming banking. And what has it done? It's given this small inner coterie or clique of crony capitalists. They're not free market. They're monopoly men. They're creating oligopolies and building towards monopolies. This inner clique has gotten legislation passed so they can't be investigated by Congress, and so the SEC can't be investigated by Congress, and so that people like Ken Lay and Bernie Madoff can get away with their swindles in the future. This is what's going on. So the very global banks that are setting up world government and trying to pass their global carbon taxes to fund their system, they have now used the crises of the derivatives bubble to sell Congress on giving them more power to take over the entire economy. This is a fiat counterfeiting system that is waging war against the real economy and that wants to bankrupt society, just like in the old days the banks wanted the farmers not to pay their note so they would go bankrupt so they would get the family farm. We've seen this in hundreds of cases in third world nations in the last century. And now it's happening again. But the same IMF and World Bank system is taking over the United States and Europe and bankrupting our society by design. And just as with the decline of Rome and so many other civilizations and empires, as things get worse and worse, the general public gets more nihilistic, more blasé. Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. They don't appreciate any of the good things that we have. They won't defend the good things that we have. And it was the French philosopher Victor Hugo that said, "Adversity makes men. Prosperity makes monsters." And so you've got a bunch of self-hating people that have basically been drugged and hypnotized by the corporate media and the cheeseburgers and the bread and the circus to the point of not even being able to have respect for themselves to stand up for society. Almost like spectators who are watching the country burn around them and almost enjoying the destruction, not consciously realizing it's going to destroy them as well. We're going to cover this more on the other side and go through some other points. Then a huge news blitz straight ahead. I'm Alex Jones. The websites are Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.tv. Stay with us.